So you may have heard half of the US got hit with a pretty big cold front this weekend, and while the storm itself has passed, we are still snowed in. So I thought I'd bring you along for a snowed in cozy vlog. So on Friday, before we hit all the snow, I started the audiobook First Time Caller by B.K. Borison. I read her book Love Light Farms a couple of years ago and enjoyed it and enjoyed her writing style as kind of just a sweet romance book. And I've heard a lot of good things about this audiobook. So I've been listening to it. I'm about 60% of the way in, and I've really been enjoying it. I think it's cute. I also like how the audiobook takes what I'm assuming are chapter headings and makes them sound like sound bites from the radio show. It just flows and transitions between chapters really nice. Our main character's daughter calls in to a local radio show that's like a dating slash romance show and is talking about how she's worried about her mom and her mom being lonely. So then the host of that show starts talking to the mom. Through their conversation, there's a clip of audio that ends up going viral, and she's then invited to co-host the show for a temporary period of time as she tries to find love. The romance is really between the host of the show and herself. It's really cute. And an interesting element of the audiobook is that what I'm assuming are chapter headings in the book, they've been recorded like a snippet from the radio show. So this audiobook is done in dual narration style, meaning that there is a point of view chapter in the male's perspective and a point of view chapter in the female's. And the male and female narrators read their chapters, but not their voices. So they do all the voices within their POV chapter, and then it switches. But the little chapter headings or snippets in between chapters are done with both narrators. And so it makes you feel a little bit more immersed, and I think is a fun way to transition between their different perspective chapters. Anyways, I'm really enjoying it. It's really cute so far, but we're going to continue listening and hopefully finish that audiobook as I clean up around the house because I need to put laundry away, and my husband and I have been chilling the past couple days. So it's time to actually clean the house. Now, to give you a little insight into what Middle Tennessee is dealing with right now, Saturday was a full day of just snowing all day long, but yesterday we actually got sleet, and now the temperatures have dropped below freezing and will remain below freezing for this next week. We're actually getting into our lowest temperatures tonight and into tomorrow, and that's single digits, which is like unheard of for this area. Now, before you come on and comment something like, oh, well, I'm from this state or this area, and this is like our average Tuesday. I grew up in Alaska and can confidently tell you I've experienced worse winters than this, but the nature of the storm and where it's located, the South doesn't have the systems to handle this type of sudden storm, especially with there being a lot of moisture and getting that sleet yesterday and then all of a sudden hitting really cold temps the following day. It creates a lot of ice and makes roads dangerous to drive on. Even once those roads are salted, that ice also gathers on stuff like cars and trees, which when there's a lot of ice on trees, they fall and could crash into power lines or crash into cars or just create a bunch of debris in general. Also, I think yesterday there were like 90% of Nashville residents that didn't have power, and when you're hitting really cold temperatures like this, not having power means you don't have heat. So I have a few friends who are either staying with families or staying in a hotel because their power is still out. And luckily, we haven't had a power outage where my husband and I are at yet, but of the couple years that we've lived here, this is definitely the worst storm we've encountered. Not that it's had the most amount of snow, but specifically because of the ice and cold temperatures, it's a lot harder for somewhere like Nashville to be able to manage. Anyways, enough of the meteorology talk. Let's just get back to enjoying being snowed in. finished cleaning up the house last night, and it feels so nice to be in a clean house, especially when you're trapped inside it for a few days. But today we're going to be getting some work done this morning, and while I work, I'm going to be listening to the audiobook, hopefully finishing it. And then later today, we're actually going to finally take down all of the Christmas decor. I know, so sad, but I'm going to be leaving up winter-related decor for another couple months. Also, by taking down all the Christmas decor, it'll actually help me reorganize the storage closet because all of the Christmas decor, like small boxes, are kind of spread out in there. So again, helping us tidy the house overall, but it will be sad to see them go. As much as I've enjoyed the past couple of days feeling like it's Christmas with the snow actually on the ground, it's time. But first, we're gonna work. Okay, so I just finished listening to First Time Caller by BK Borison, and I have some thoughts because I was initially really enjoying this book, the audiobook experience in particular. And I will say, I'm not the biggest fan of spice, in particular when it's written in a very modern language style and like blunt description. And I'm especially not a fan when I'm listening to it versus reading it. Just feels weird. But that's more of a personal thing. Beyond the one like big spice scene closer to the end that I completely skipped, my largest issue was the third act breakup. In particular, the way the third act breakup was handled by our male main character. It was mainly based on not even like a full miscommunication, but just people not being honest with each other. The way our male main character handled the situation did not sit well with me, and it altered my view of him. Now, do I recognize that our male main character in this book is broken, and by the end of it, he's going to therapy fixing his issues? Yes. And do I think that's great? Of course. But the way that whole third act breakup happened, I think was totally unnecessary and just painted him in a light that I did not like and made me not enjoy then the end of the story as much. I did think the way that they came back together and the like big romantic gesture was really cute and fitting for this story, and I was smiling by the end. But that third act breakup did not sit well with me. And then also the way that the author wrote her spice, I don't like reading in that style. And so for both of those reasons, I would rate this a 3.75, which isn't a terrible rating, but more so of it's a cute romance. The audiobook experience I do think is good with the way they have those chapter headings, and I could see why other people really like it. Just for my own like personal reading preferences, it's not my favorite romance that I've read, but it's definitely far from the worst. Depending on the person I'm talking to, I might recommend it, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it to everyone. Anyways, I really liked the beginning of the story and how it was laid out and the overarching plot. But yeah, that third act breakup really tainted my image of our male main character, Aiden. It just felt so off. Anyways, enough talking about this book. This was officially the 7th book that I've finished so far this year, so I'm definitely on track with my reading goal of 75 books. And also during the snowstorm, I read One Dark Window and didn't film any of this because I started it and completed it within a matter of like 2 days, a little over 2 days, because I finished the last like 2 chapters this morning. It was so good. So good. I recognize I'm so behind on this duology, but I'm so glad I finally picked it up. A quick little premise of One Dark Window. It's a very like gothic-based fantasy. Our main magic system is rooted in these Providence cards, which there's 12 different types, and when you tap them, you like unlock the card's magic. But there's also this mist that surrounds the village, and as a result, people can get this infection. When they get the infection, then they either die from it or develop magic. And the people who are infected and develop their own magic are outlawed because it's seen as beyond the control of these cards and people having their own magic rather than having it attached to the cards feels like too overpowered, essentially. So those people are hunted and killed. Our female main character has magic and was infected when she was young, and her family has kept her hidden, and she's found a way to disguise the fact that she was infected. But her magic is linked to this monster that lives in her head and is like this voice that speaks to her, but also protects her in different circumstances. And there's some political intrigue. It's a fantasy romance, so there's also a romance subplot. I love Rachel Gillig's writing style. I love her world and the unique magic system that this world has. It's very different from anything else I've read. Also, the fact that there's this like eerie sense to it, really cool. I loved the slow reveal to different connections of what our female main character was going through and kind of the mystery behind the monster in her head. I was literally filling my husband in like every few chapters as to what was happening. Now, there were a couple of things I predicted, but I didn't go into the story thinking like I'm gonna get major plot twists like a mystery book. But I kind of enjoy when a fantasy book sets you up to these conclusions, and when you get to them, you feel like vindicated the fact that you were partially right, but then also there's some sort of minor reveal of something you didn't guess. Because I feel like that's how books should be written, is there's some clues leading up to the reveal. Whether or not you see them, it's how you experience a novel, but it makes sense for them to lead somewhere. Really enjoyed this book. I'm excited to hop into the second one. I don't think I'm going to yet because I want to read it physical. I read One Dark Window on my Kindle, and I want to read the physical version of Two Twisted Crowns, but I still need to take down all of our Christmas decor, and an audiobook is much better suited for that than reading a physical book, keeping me tied to the couch. So I've heard nothing but praise for this duology, but I really enjoyed it. I would rate this book 4.75, I think. It's one that I want to give 5 stars because I really did enjoy it and love so many elements. Maybe I will rate it 5 stars. I don't know. You can see the rating on the screen or check the description below for my Fable and see all the books I've rated. Anyways, we're going to get cracking on taking down Christmas decor and starting a new audiobook. Good afternoon. We're on day 5, 6, I think day 5 of the aftermath of this snowstorm, and I am currently in the middle of trying to heat up my car. I'm not going anywhere, but just to get some of the last little bits of ice off, and also there's some ice that's gathered around my tires, so I want to see if I can move my vehicle, but the roads around where we live have cleared enough that it's fine to drive, and I think the main roads have been fine, but we will see. Again, not go anywhere, just bundled up to see if I can even move my car. But it is still getting like in the teens in the evenings, so we're close to being above freezing during the day consistently again. We're near the end of this. Okay, so here's the good news. I can move my car. Here's the bad news. There's still a really decent sized chunk of ice on the front windshield. It's like stuck. So I'm going to let my car continue to warm up a little bit more. Hopefully it'll continue to melt some of the ice because it's a thick layer. It's almost like there's a layer and then some of it crushed and fell on top and then refroze. But it's like, it's stuck. We'll see in a few minutes. Okay, so I ended up letting my car run for about 20 minutes. Finally got the huge chunk of ice off. Was able to like break it in pieces, but the reason it wasn't coming off before is because it was like all stuck together and then it was like frozen around my windshield wiper. The only thing that helped is I managed to get it like broken into 3 different pieces, but it's able to move. So, fingers crossed. Anyways, the rest of the day we're gonna spend inside because it is still cold. I stupidly was taking ice off my car with bare hands. I'm gonna be listening to my audiobook and do some cozy hobbies today because the past few days have been a lot of productivity or just like sitting down and reading, and I want to get to some of the hobbies that I normally ignore and spend some time in those and listen to an audiobook. Okay, we are currently 41% of the way through this audiobook. This is such an easy read. I get why so many people recommend this as an audiobook. The way that Ben's chapters are laid out, it sounds like you're actually listening to a podcast. I just realized I should probably give a synopsis. So this book, Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera, is about a woman who is believed to have killed her best friend, but she was never officially like arrested or convicted of it. Everyone in her small town thinks she's the one who did it. And then a true crime podcast host starts a podcast about this case that was never solved and interviews the people from this small town, talking to different people that would have known her. And then our main character travels back to this small town for her grandma's birthday, runs into him, and like ends up helping him because she had amnesia. So she doesn't remember anything from that night specifically, and it's assumed to be like brain injury related because she was also like hurt that night. The way that the book is structured, you have the chapters that are in perspective of our main female character and then chapters that are like in perspective of the podcast host, but his chapters are laid out like you're hearing a clip of the podcast itself. So you'll hear his voice talking to the listeners and kind of breaking the fourth wall again like it's a podcast. And then you also hear the female narrator will speak for interview clips that involve like other females. So those chapters are really interesting, that has both narrators involved and feels like an actual podcast interview clip. And her chapters, it's just the female narrator narrating everyone's voices, but she does a really good male voice. Like I've done multiple times like a double take of thinking that it's a duet style narration, but it isn't fully. The female narrator is just really good at pitching down her voice in a way that doesn't sound like she's mocking a man's voice. But it's super easy to listen to, short chapters. It also adds to that level of tension because you're getting our main character Lucy's perspective as she's there, 5 years after the incident, trying to go about life, and also her internal monologue and mental struggles. And then also you're getting fed the little pieces of backstory through the podcast clips and new information being revealed that even most people in this town didn't know, or Lucy herself didn't know. And I also think this book has such a good underlying sense of dark humor. Our main character does not take herself too seriously and kind of pokes at the fact that she's struggled with people assuming she is a murderer for the past 5 years when she wouldn't ever think to do that. But also with her internal monologue, you're getting insight into the real mental health struggles that she has as a result of this traumatic event. And the way that it's written, it almost sounds like she has some OCD as well, but it's really entertaining so far. Really good book. I've also been listening to it on 1.5 times speed, so that's how I'm getting through it so quick. And while I've been listening, I've been crocheting these little dragon eggs in a few different colors, and I've also crocheted the wings. So all I have left now is to do the bodies of the little baby dragons, and this is something that I sell at markets and also sell on my Etsy, and can customize. So if you are interested in having a little dragon hatchling, my Etsy is linked down below. But I have a little Valentine's market coming up, so making some progress on that, as well as I'm attending BookCon in a couple months as a vendor, and so I'm just every night trying to build towards my stock for that conference, because there's going to be like over 20,000 people going, and it is a very large market. Largest I've ever done. So slowly but surely making my crochet items to sell. I'm gonna get back to listening to this book because I'm curious if I can actually finish it tonight, because it is currently 8:30, and like I said, we're 40% of the way through. So Spotify is saying I have 5.5 hours left, but based on the fact I'm listening to it at 1.5 times speed, I should actually finish it in around 3.5 hours. So that would put me at midnight. So we may be able to finish this book tonight. If not, I'll easily be able to finish it first thing tomorrow morning.
The waiter stops behind me and refills my nearly empty wine glass.
Okay. Like I said, this book is great with the humor. There's some dark humor, but there's also just some like totally dry, sarcastic humor from the internal monologue of our main character, Lucy, and it's made me laugh out loud a couple of times. Also forgot to say, I love the grandma. The grandma is wild and chaotic and just this free spirit in the best way. She feels like the only person that's truly in Lucy's corner. Love grandma. She might be my favorite character. Okay, we're at the 90% mark. Super close to finishing this book. I'll have to finish it tomorrow. But these are all of the finished dragons from this evening. I'm showing the camera. This one and this little guy. And then I also have this one that I had started a few days ago and finished. It's like a little Valentine's Day one. So got these 4 done. My husband and I are gonna have a little late night snack and watch a show and then go to bed. So I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, so it is the following day. I actually stayed up late last night to finish Listen for the Lie, and it did not disappoint. That book is so good. I see why people really rave about the audiobook experience, but also the like storyline in itself is really good. I felt on edge the entire time, constantly guessing who the murderer actually was. And even when we were like right at the end of the book, I was still feeling like, no, I don't think that's it. I don't think that's our answer. I feel like more is coming. So good. It was so good. Really enjoyed it. I would rate it 4.5 stars. If you are a mystery thriller lover, I would highly recommend listening to this book. And even if you're not and you're wanting to dip your toe into the genre, then I'd try this out. I already talked about it a lot, and I'm not going to give much more detail because obviously I don't want to spoil it, but it was really entertaining, really fast book to listen to, and the narrators were really good. So if you have any other audiobook suggestions for me, it doesn't have to be in the mystery thriller genre, but ones that are really fast paced and easy to get through and the narrators are really good, let me know, because it is so hard to find an audiobook that has me like this engaged. Normally, if I'm home, I'd rather opt for like watching TV or something. This was, I am fully listening to this audiobook start to finish and not consuming any other form of media. Like I did not want to turn on the TV. I did not want to do anything else once I was in the story. And I want to find more audiobooks like that. Because that's how I feel reading a book sometimes. But obviously I don't always have the time to sit down and read. So anyways, with that being said, we're just going to chill this evening. Today's weather was looking a lot better. The roads are pretty clear. I think going into tomorrow, it's going to be another pretty cold day. But then I think we're on the uphill from there. So didn't seem like there's a ton of ice left out on the roads, at least the roads that my husband and I were on today, just like in our neighborhood, wasn't too bad. And then obviously main roads are good. So I think we're in the clear finally. So unfortunately, our whole cozy time snowed in is coming to an end. But this evening, I'm going to sit and just enjoy some hobbies because I've been doing a lot of crochet work work in the evenings and also my full-time job working during the day, and I want some time to just relax and do something fun. So I think we're going to just spend 30 minutes to an hour playing on my Switch a little bit this evening before we get back into crocheting and reading, just to kind of mix it up with the hobbies because I do love gaming. And one of the games that I played in college a lot was Animal Crossing, and they just came out with a free 3.0 update like out of the blue, and I've only played it a little bit. So I'm going to play a little bit more this evening just to chill, relax, participate in a hobby for no other gain other than just enjoyment. If you are a cozy gamer as well or want to see some of the other cozy hobbies that I enjoy, then let me know because I'd love to do like a little let's play with me for Animal Crossing or Stardew Valley or Disney Dreamlight Valley or some other fun game either on my Switch or my PC. But I also really love scrapbooking and coloring and board games. And then I've dabbled some in sewing, baking, and taking care of plants. So if you want a cozy game with me or even like a cozy hobby video, let me know because I really enjoy having those kinds of vlogs on in the background while I'm doing my fun little hobbies, and maybe it would introduce you to a hobby that you haven't thought of yet. I didn't realize I abandoned them for that long. Now I feel bad. Why is she so sweet? I love Ellie. Okay, so I realized while playing that I only have 9 residents on my island and never got a 10th one. So I have like 30,000 miles right now. I'm going to spend some on some tickets and do a little villager hunt. I've already gotten an opportunity to try out some of the new features of the update, like messing around with decorating a hotel room and getting to craft multiple items at the same time. Also, I haven't visited this island in a long time. Tell me why I have the best luck that the night I'm playing it, I have shooting stars and Celeste on my island. I don't remember the last time I saw shooting stars, and there's like a ton. So I've been trying to wish on those every chance I get to get the little star fragments the next day, but I'm gonna place down my 10th plot and then try to find a cute villager to add to my island. Also, I just want to brag for a second about this blanket. It is huge and super comfy, and this was a little home project I had this past fall to make a really comfortable big blanket for the back of our couch to cuddle up with, and I can say it's been put to good use. Okay, I'm not even kidding. I just used my first ticket, and the very first villager I find is actually so cute. It's Poppy. Hold on. Isn't she so cute? I exchanged in enough miles for 10 tickets, but I really want to take her. My island is like a nature core type of theme, so I have a lot of woodsy areas, campsites, like a little orchard. The houses aren't in a set neighborhood. I feel like she'd be perfect. So I'm gonna invite her. Well, that was a very short-lived villager hunt. I literally went with the first one I found. She's really cute. One day I would really like to have Molly, the little duck, or I think Maple is her name. She's like a little cub. Both of them are so cute. She calls you Nutty. That's her name for you.